Welcome back, everyone, to SANDCAST. This is one of those, it's not quite a full podcast. I don't know what to call these, just an update. So in our email newsletter, which you can subscribe to at sandcastvolleyball.com, should get a little pop-up. You just put in your email. You'll get it's called Beach Volleyball Digest every Monday. But in that newsletter last week or 2 weeks ago, I put a little carrot dangle that said that Volleyball World has some exciting news coming out. Now, all the players have been informed of great news to me, and I think to players all over on the World Tours, that they are expanding the size of the fields and as well as expanding the prize money. So the Elite 16s, I doubt that they'll be called Elite 16s anymore because they are now a 24-team main draw. So if they rename it Elite 24 or if they just keep it Elite, that might make sense. And then as for the challenges, so they're going to go from a 24-team main draw and bump it up to 32. And now the most popular system that I've heard on the World Tour was the old school Grand Slams and Opens. And that was the system used up until the Rio Olympic Games. After that, they switched to the Star system. After that, they switched to the Futures, Challenges, and Elites. And now, so there's still the Futures, but now the Challenges are 32 teams. That's what the Opens were back in the Grand Slam Open era. And the Elite 16s, the Elite tier, is now a 24-team main draw, which is what the Grand Slams were. I don't know exactly how the formats are going to work out. If you have been a longtime listener of the show, you'll know that 24 is the most difficult number to run a coherent tournament format that makes any sense, because if you do modified pool, then you get the really weird second round that doesn't make sense, there's no incentive to win, which is why we had all those forfeits in the 24-team challenge system. And then they tried to fix that with the most confusing system I've ever seen in my life in the fall challenges. And so they just did away with it, up the challenges to 32. I believe the elites are still going to be round robin. I don't know 100% for sure. But if it's round robin, then there's a little bit more wiggle room on how you can have teams come out into the playoffs with a more coherent and easy to understand format. So aside from the elites probably being a bit of a funky format in terms of understanding the playoff breakout, awesome news. There's more players, more prize money. It's going to be different tournaments. The elites, I think, got a little bit stale towards the end of the year because it was a lot of the same matchups that we were seeing over and over and over again. And now the challenges, the biggest ding on them was that the format was, frankly, ridiculous the way that they were running it. It was confusing. It was hard to understand. There were no incentives, a ton of forfeits. Now they don't have that. I think these are two great fixes from Volleyball World. Prize money increased by a substantial amount in both. And so I think that Volleyball World is making the right steps. Is it perfect? No, because the biggest area of improvement for Volleyball World, I think, and the FIVB rather. So Volleyball World is the marketing arm of the FIVB. All these decisions, formats and stuff, I believe, fall under the FIVB's purview. But the biggest thing is the entry point system. And the entry point system is still based on your best three finishes of your last four tournaments. And the reason why I don't think that is the best, most efficient system is because it incentivizes teams to sit out. So if you have a great finish and you want to sit on that great finish, you have to sort of do this calculus involved and figure out, well, what is the best use of these points? When am I going to push this finish out? I still think a perfect system. You take your best six finishes from your last 365 days. You never push a finish out. It incentivizes teams to play a ton of tournaments. And I think that any system that incentivizes you to sit out and protect a finish is not the best, not an optimal system. So that's the last thing that once Volleyball World and the FIVB, once they clean up that entry point thing, I think that they have it pretty dialed. Now, could there always be more prize money? Yes. Could there be bonus pools? Of course. And there's always going to be this tension between players and the organizers, and that goes for all sports. That's why there's the NFL Players Association. That's why there's the MLBPA. That's why there's the NHLPA. Every sport has this, and so the players are always going to be fighting for more for themselves. The organizing and promoters, they're always going to be looking out for their benefit, and that's a healthy tension. And what this has resulted in is, to me, a much better format. You have a 24-team top tier. You have a 32-team mid-tier. That's a lot more opportunities for players. And as we've seen, there's talent everywhere. Like the Bayos winning a gold medal out of the qualifier. I mean, how many medals did we see in those Elite 16s from teams coming out of the qualifier. A lot. And now they've made the right adjustment. They've expanded the draws. They're going to be a lot more interesting tournaments now. I'm a big fan of it. And like I said, there's still some improvements to be made. And now the last big question a lot of people have asked is the World Championship qualification system. So the World Championships are in November in Adelaide, Australia, and a lot of people wonder, well, how do you qualify? So the last World Championships, you qualified by having your best 6 finishes of the calendar year. The cutoff date was in August. I haven't seen any official word. My assumption, if I were playing and mapping out my season, and I were trying to map out the best way to qualify for the World Championships, I would assume the cutoff date would be the Hamburg Elite, whatever they're calling it now, Elite 16, Elite 24, or just Elite. And so I would try to get my best 6 finishes up through Hamburg, and then the World Championship field will be set. As that is established, I will update you a little bit more as far as that goes. But until then, I think Volleyball World did a great thing. Expanding the fields, that's what everybody wanted. Increasing the prize money, everybody wanted that. Could there always be more prize money? Of course. However, there's more opportunities for players now on the World Tour. The elites, I think, are going to be much better. Challenges are going to be way easier to understand. I think it is objectively a win across the board. So nicely done from Volleyball World. As for me and this Florida State get up, we open our season at Southern Miss the weekend of February 21st. And by then we'll have another producer. So Delaney's due date, it was yesterday. And so it's countdown's on. And so Goal Knowles, good on Volleyball World. Big win, I think, for the players. Big win, I think, for the sport. And the sport needed some good news. And so I hope you enjoyed. Any questions, please drop them in the comments. And we'll do our best to answer them. Shoots.